This is Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1, specifically the 2006 release. It is super modded. So here's the 50 character roster mod that I've recently inputted. Also with a bevy of animated mannequins. Just gonna go through my character skins here. Admittedly, they're so well organized or properly labeled that it's not even necessary for me to really speak description wise for each character. So I'm just going to go through here and I'm going to show each individual costume. While I am showing you guys these costumes, feel free to read the yellow text here, which is the name for each character costume for minute or minor details that you may want. I'm just going to speak basically just say my opinion of Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, which is it's a dumpster fire. Starting character here is well, I don't even have to say it, you can read it. So I'm just gonna start by saying Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 is graphically it looks awful. I knew it would be a downgrade from Ultimate Alliance 2 because of the system that the game was put on. You can't put an Ultimate Alliance game on a freaking Switch, coming from the heels of Ultimate Alliance 2, because Ultimate Alliance 2 model wise is hyper realistic. It's like putting a PS4 game on a Game Boy. Aside from that, the costume choices in Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, which I'm just gonna come out and say it, that whole two costumes per character and then having to unlock a lot of the roster via DLC, and then of course it being upgraded to four characters, four costumes per character, but it was lazy palette swaps. And I think to add salt to the wound, I hated the costume choices. Just not a fan of Ultimate Alliance 3. I think those costumes were egregiously just made up nonsense that Team Ninja wanted to, I guess try to experiment with, and they failed horribly. Not only did I not recognize most of the costumes from Ultimate Alliance 3 because, they were custom made for the game specifically, but I didn't like any of them. As far as the costume selection goes, you'll notice Ultimate Alliance 3's palette swaps, unapologetic palette swaps that it had were they were just bad. They were just bad. Most of the costumes that were palette swapped in Ultimate Alliance 3, they weren't good color choices in my opinion. Now I'm gonna move over here into the gameplay. I think the gameplay for Ultimate Alliance 3 is terrible. It's just all around awful. If you do not agree with this opinion, it's an opinion. You don't have to agree, but I'm just gonna go ahead and state facts here. Um, when playing with four characters in Ultimate Alliance 3, I quickly noticed that there are a lot of what I call screen engulfing moves. I hate screen engulfing moves with a passion. The reason being is because you can't really see what you're doing. Nothing in Ultimate Alliance 3 is clear and concise. You would actually have to play that game with just one character in order to be able to tell what's going on, which is also extremely dangerous because it doesn't have realistic physics. Now, when I say realistic physics, when I'm referring to Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, I'm of course referring to when you hit the opponent doesn't flinch. A flinch mechanic is super important. It's what separates a modern game from a game that belongs on your phone. Unfortunately, Ultimate Alliance 3 failed horribly. I immediately noticed when seeing gameplay for the video that when you fight bosses, not only bosses are the bosses improperly sized, but the bosses don't move when you hit them. It's like you have no impact when fighting an enemy. And for me, that's the biggest failure of all. This Ultimate Alliance game that you're viewing here, Ultimate Alliance 1 for PC, the 2006 release, it's modded. And it didn't need to be. The original or default game already had it was pretty physics heavy, and the gameplay is just stellar, which is what separates this game from the other two installments. My mods that I've put in my game, of course, being realism mod. The realism mod just basically means when you hit an opponent, the opponent goes flying, or you could pick up and throw opponents that you probably shouldn't. It's just a personal preference, just something I modded in here to make it even more better than it is than the two sequels. Just not a fan, man. Like I feel like if you bought Ultimate Alliance 3, you're part of the problem. You are definitely the reason why Ultimate Alliance has regressed over the years into the nonsensical, bad graphic, horrible gameplay that it is now. This is just me simply showcasing Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 on PC, and it's super modded, but even without mods, I've looked at the game, of course, it looks incredible. There was actually a remake or a remaster of the 2006 game that came out in, I believe, 2016, which completely overhauled the game. It gives you better models, better textures, and it made a few tweaks to the gameplay too. Overall, I have to say it was a pretty good remaster, but it is not what we wanted personally. We wanted basically what you guys are looking at, a complete model overhaul, a complete graphic reset. Speaking of graphics, I believe I'm using Reshade for this game, and in my Reshade, it is caked with different effects. Of course, including a colorful preset, FXAA. Let's see if I can remember my place here. I believe I'm on Venom. Sorry, I digressed. I don't want to lose my place here in the character select. I noticed in my very first character showcase, I actually skipped Storm, which people weren't hesitant to let me know about. Okay, but I digress. Ultimate Alliance 3, why do I hate it so much? The art style. I absolutely hate the art style in Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. It was created by Team Ninja. I think Team Ninja is an awful developing team. It's just personal preference, but I don't like their art style. The best thing to come from Team Ninja, which I kind of care about, is Ninja Gaiden. They made Ninja Gaiden Black and Sigma and basically the Ninja Gaiden games for Xbox. They were pretty good. But other than that, I absolutely I hate Team Ninja. I know those are strong words to say, but I do not like Team Ninja at all. A good example of something that Team Ninja released that I just knew was going to be a dumpster fire that people apparently liked was I think Neo. Yeah, it's called Neo. One of my favorite games is Dark Souls. I think Dark Souls is unique. It's super cool. It's the most replicated thing ever. And then here comes Team Ninja to pretty much DOA Dark Souls. And I for life of me don't understand why anyone likes that stuff. But it's personal preference to each his own. And I can't judge, but I'm judging. I don't like Team Ninja's work. When I found out that Ultimate Alliance 3 was going to come out and that Team Ninja was going to be making it, it was either going to have two things or one of two things. Insane boob physics on every character, which I couldn't see happening given that Marvel is under the helm, or just gratuitous sexualized female butt shots, which is what they went for because that's the latter. And that's just the thing with Team Ninja. They overly sexualize their stuff instead of focusing on what's important, which is the quality. The most innovative thing that Team Ninja has pioneered is freaking DOA boob physics. They have freaking PlayStation games with like watery, overly jiggly boob mechanics and Christ. I don't know. I just don't think them teaming up with Marvel was a smart idea, but it happened. So it's something I have to deal with. I know I'm just ranting here, but I like to rant in my videos. Chances are I'm going to go back and listen to this commentary too. Where was I? Hawkeye. Yeah, chances are I'm going to go back and listen to this commentary too, and it's just me spouting, what I think personally. The most egregious thing I have to say in Ultimate Alliance 3 is the palette swaps. Those hurt me the most, I have to say. And of course, the gameplay. I cannot stand the gameplay in Ultimate Alliance 3. I think it's just a dumpster fire. All of the stuff on the screen, like the UI, just being caked all, just numbers and lines and just stuff all over the screen. It's not necessary. It kills your immersion. It makes you feel like you're playing something on an old system. It's just there's so much wrong with that game, and I for the life of me can't understand why anyone would buy it. Aside from the people that are sitting on a toilet that want to, have a portable Ultimate Alliance, you can play the Switch while you take a dump. Those people out there, I hate you. I hate you. I hate with every fiber in my being. I hate your existence because you're the reason that Ultimate Alliance looks like it looks awful now. Of course, I'm just kidding when I say I hate you. I mean, I like to use the bathroom, but I don't like to play video games while I use the bathroom. But I can see people wanting just a portable Ultimate Alliance. But I personally would not spend my money on Ultimate Alliance 3. It's just not worth. It's not worth it. I'm not desperate enough to spend my money on Ultimate Alliance 3. My buddy showed me an emulator on his freaking phone. He has a PS1 and a PS2 emulator on his freaking phone. So I know for a fact you could easily just emulate Ultimate Alliance 1 if you want to play an Ultimate Alliance game on the go. So just if you spend money on Ultimate Alliance 3, I have a seething hatred for you because you're a plague. You're weed that needs to be plucked. You need to be taken from the gaming community. Okay, I'm being very dark and very extreme right now, but these are just like I'm just spurting, my personal opinion on Ultimate Alliance 3 and its purchasers. Christ, did you guys see the outfits in Ultimate Alliance 3? They were so bad. Okay, I think Odin. I think I have a Logan. Got to be on Green Goblin here. I had to go back and modify on a serious note. Pretty much every character here. I had to rearrange the skins and put the proper skins to match the mannequins on the character select screen. Turned out pretty good. Also, you'll notice the naming convention. If I have a movie-based character, I put the name of the actor who played them in said movie. Pretty important to me. Just out of respect for the people that played them. And plus, these models are so incredible, dude. Like they're accurate. But I digress. So you're probably like, oh, so the only thing you really didn't like about Ultimate Alliance 3, because you keep saying it, is the palette swaps. And what else did I say? Besides the palette swap, there's a lot of things I hate about Ultimate Alliance 3. And the gameplay, the no flinching for the gameplay. No, that's not the only things that I don't like. Those are the most egregious offenses for that game. Besides the awful palettes, the terrible gameplay, I didn't like the art. I think the art was freaking horrible. Now, I brought up Team Ninja and how I just hate them as developers because it's not just their art style. I don't like their gameplay for most of their stuff, dude. I'm not a DOA fan. I'm not a fan of most of their stuff. I don't think Neo was an upgrade from from Dark Souls by any extent. It's just Team Ninja is just they're awful, dude. And their art, I hate their smooth, girly, bishi male. For those of you who don't know what bishi is, it's just the Japanese term for gay or pretty male. I don't like Team Ninja's art style, and I do not think they should have touched an Ultimate Alliance game. A lot of you guys aren't so much focused on the art style of the males and females from Team Ninjas. You're probably more so focused on the art in general and how some more cartoony, less detailed look. I think the popular consensus for Ultimate Alliance 3 when it first came out was that it looked like it belonged on your phone. That's because it did. They had to make some cuts. They had to downgrade. They had to reduce the environments. They had to shave the models down into their pure simplicity just for the sake of it being able to be played on a freaking Switch. Switch is not a powerful system. It is not a good system. It has good games on it. That's because, bad workers blame their tools. If you have a good developer, you'll get a good game. And unfortunately, we got Team Ninja, and we got one game that should be on next generation consoles, but it unfortunately wasn't. So that was just three things so far, wasn't it? The palette swaps. I absolutely hated the costumes. I did not like the limited costumes. There were only two costumes per character. You had to unlock a lot of the roster itself via DLC. Um, there are four costumes, but a lot of that stuff had to be unlocked too. DLC practices. If you put DLC practices in a game, it's automatically a regression in my opinion. Ultimate Alliance 3 does have things, characters you have to pay for in order to get, which is no, it's not working for me. Again, feel free to read the yellow text if you have any confusion or want to, understand exactly who or what the skin is. I even have where the skin is from in some cases. Usually for the future fight skins, majority of the labels will have the future fight skins. For what room allows here. But I digress again. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, the lazy palette swaps, only having two costumes. Technically, you still have two costumes, even though there are four, because the costumes that you get are palette swaps, and they're palette swaps of two costumes. So technically, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 only has two costumes per character, which is an egregious failure. Um, a good comparison here to let you know the extent of how bad Ultimate Alliance 3 is costume wise is Ultimate Alliance 2 for a comparison. Ultimate Alliance 2 had two different costumes, right? Just like 3. Well, at least in Ultimate Alliance 2, they were familiar costumes. There was one iteration from the Ultimate Universe in the comics, and then there was a second iteration, which is our common, original, or modern versions of said characters. I'm gonna have to go out like this so that you can see the Hulk. Well, in Ultimate Alliance 3, they didn't even bother giving you a familiar costume. Team Ninja just concocted some nonsensical, weird, fingerless glove Spider-Man costume, and just every character in the freaking roster looks ridiculous, and it looks unfamiliar. It's just that uncanny, crappy Team Ninja design that I just hate. And I know my words are very strong. I'm being very extreme here, but that's just how I feel, man. Like the moment I found out that Team Ninja of all developers is going to be linked up with Marvel, creating a freaking Ultimate Alliance game coming off of the heels of the second game, the second game looks so good. I knew it was going to be a complete failure. Not so much a failure monetarily, given that there's people actually spending money to buy Ultimate Alliance 3 just so they can have a portable Ultimate Alliance, which again, you could just emulate the first or second game on your freaking phone if you want to carry the game around. Like it just, I'm infatuated. It's like I don't want to be rude because my buddy told me I have a tendency of being really mean. I don't want to just blatantly come out and say purchasers of Ultimate Alliance 3 are idiots because that's not nice to say, but that's how I feel. Deep in the annals of my library, that internal mind space that I have, which is basically me saying everything behind my defense mechanism that I don't want to exist. That is actually how I feel, man. If you pay money for Ultimate Alliance 3, you are a problem. I think you should be plucked from this planet. I don't think you should be breathing the same air as us actual comic fans. A good comparison of this Ultimate Alliance 1 with a few mods on it, and of course Ultimate Alliance 3, is this costume selection. You have this snowsuit in Ultimate Alliance 3, it's just a lazy palette swap of her original black suit, and the original black suit is a concocted, made up Black Widow suit specifically for that game. It's just egregious. It is offensive. And then what makes it even worse, Black Widow doesn't even have a second costume in Ultimate Alliance 3. It's actually Yelena Belo I always mispronounce the name Belova, which is her sister. And the Yelena Belova in Ultimate Alliance 3 isn't this. This is actually the movie. This is was it Florence? I think her name is Florence, but this is her from the movie. This is her actual movie model. And in the game, I don't know what that is, dude. That's just one example of how bad Ultimate Alliance 3 is with their models in general and their costumes. But again, I keep digressing. I feel so passionately, or I keep focusing, on those said things because they're vitally important to me. If a game doesn't have good gameplay, and then it further insults me by having bad art, I'm just gonna completely lose interest in said game, which is what I did. I will admit I did not give Ultimate Alliance 3 a chance because I'm not trying to say anything rude. I didn't give Ultimate Alliance 3 a chance because I can't think of a term besides incompetent because I'm not incompetent enough to spend my money on something that I know is bad. I'm sorry, it's just there are so many red flags with Ultimate Alliance 3. It's got terrible graphics. It's got a horrible costume choice. The gameplay is just egregious. The UI is just caked and cluttered over the screen. And then even further caked and cluttered is the effects and moves for every character. It's so much wrong with that freaking game. I just listed off a few things off the top of my head, but another egregious and assaulting thing that the game chose to do was the staging layout. The staging layout is horrible. I can tell when I'm getting to a boss fight in that game because it puts me in what I call an arena, which is basically a circular or hexagonal shaped area that you have to fight the boss in. There are no open areas in that freaking game. It's so linear. There's so much wrong with Ultimate Alliance 3, man. I could just go on forever. I said the palettes are pretty bad. The gameplay is pretty bad. The art style is pretty horrible. The developers are just a dumpster fire. There's nothing to salvage the game for me personally. I think I pretty much hit the nail on the head there with all of the complaints or the things that make me personally stray away from liking that game. I'm just not a fan of Ultimate Alliance 3. It's regression in every way. And when I say the word regression, if you're curious as to exactly what I mean by the word regression, I'm just going to do a comparison of three and pretty much both previous games. One comparison, for instance, is the models. You could take pretty much any model from Ultimate Alliance 2 and compare it to the models in Ultimate Alliance 3, and I guarantee you it's going to stomp it in comparison. As far as the gameplay goes, there's nothing innovative or new in Ultimate Alliance 3. I literally, that's going to be a problem. I'm going to skip Juggernaut for now. Sorry, I'm drifting here, but this is pretty important. Okay, that's not bad clipping. Okay, so as far as the modeling goes, if you were to compare the models for 2 and 3, two's models, any model from 2 will curb stomp a model from Ultimate Alliance 3. Now, models aside, if you were to focus on the costume selection, I've already went over that. The first game, by default, had about 4 costumes per character. You'll notice I have 6 here. That's because it's modded. But the base Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 has 4 costumes per character. When 2 came out, 2 only had 2 costumes, and people did complain about that as being a downgrade, which is, for me, the first step to the Marvel getting pretty lazy with the Ultimate Alliance games. But we didn't complain because at least the costumes that you were allowed to use in Ultimate Alliance 2 were familiar. Now, doing a comparison of Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2 costume wise, 2, 3 is just laughable. There's just no point. Like, yeah, I think I got my point across there with the costume selection. So I'm not even going to focus on that anymore. Now next is the gameplay. The gameplay for Ultimate Alliance 1 is just it's flawless, man. It's perfection. You can throw your partners. There's mini games caked throughout it, like freaking Pong of all things. There's even I think a pitfall game in here. There's just it's so much to do. It kind of breaks up the monotony of just, I forget the term, not button masher, beat 'em up. It kills the monotony of just having a button mashing beat 'em up game because it mixes it up with so many mini games that it keeps your mind busy and it stops you from, getting bored. None of that stuff is in Ultimate Alliance 3. Heck, I don't even think Ultimate Alliance 2 really has mini games in it. But Ultimate Alliance 2 is okay. It nullifies the fact that it doesn't have mini games in it because of its graphics. It has far superior graphics to Ultimate Alliance 1. That's of course without these mods. And because of that, it kind of compensated for not having many mini games. To me, Ultimate Alliance 3 is nothing, dude. It doesn't have graphics to compensate for not having mini games. So ultimately, you just get tired of playing that game. I think what's even more egregious or scary about Ultimate Alliance 3 is which character am I on? That's the cable. I think Rogue. Yeah, but when I think it's more egregious, than not having good graphics to compensate for not having mini games for Ultimate Alliance 3 is that UI, dude. Like, I can't get over how terrible that UI looks. Ultimate Alliance 3 has the most caked numbers and lines and nonsense on the screen I've ever seen. It is jarring. It is immersion killing. It is unpleasant to the eyes. Everything about it is awful. The team mechanic in Ultimate Alliance 3 is just two characters doing some wild screaming engulfing move that's not even really connected to one another. Jeez. Ultimate Alliance 2, it had team attacks and stuff, but they were specifically for one or two characters, and you could clearly see that they were engaging with one another. I just don't see it. I don't understand how anyone could pick up Ultimate Alliance 3 and say to themselves, yeah, I'll play this over 2 or 1. It's just not feasible, man. It's just not feasible. There's literally nothing in Ultimate Alliance 3 that entices me to pick that game up. I sound like I've run out of things that I hate about Ultimate Alliance 3, but I really haven't. There's like so many things that I'm actually flipping through my flip book in my brain right now to find something new to talk about here. The gameplay, the graphics, the costumes, the developers. Um, I could just like make up a reason to like not like the game that's factual. But those are the most outstanding things. The stage layout, I absolutely hated that stage layout. That like I said previously, the whole arena thing. I really don't like the having the boss fight, in a pit or a circular area every freaking time. There's no mix up there. There's no mini games. The graphic downgrade. There's nothing salvageable there. Not even the gameplay. The gameplay is so. I know I said the gameplay previously, but here's something I didn't point out. The gameplay lacked pop-ups. And if the game had pop-ups, it lacked air combos. For me, air combos is pretty important. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1, kind of like X-Men Legends 2. X-Men Legends 2 had the ability to knock the opponent into the air and do a full combo and just beat them out of the air. Ultimate Alliance, specifically the first game, didn't have that, but you do have the ability to do pop-ups, to jump in the air, and to hit the opponent out of the air, which is something that Ultimate Alliance 3 does not have. By the way, my game is modded, so that function from X-Men Legends 2, it's in my game. But that's besides the point. And if you guys look closely, you'll notice just from this right here, I have Ultimate Alliance 3's models in this game. And to be honest, in comparison to the other models, they're laughably bad looking. But I still, stylistically, there are a few characters in Ultimate Alliance 3 that I can tolerate. So I put in here just for the sake of having a, a modern Ultimate Alliance 1 game. One thing I can tell you that Ultimate Alliance 3 will never touch that I have in my Ultimate Alliance 1 is these movie-based models. These movie-based models that look exactly like the actors from the MCU are just they're too insane, man. Like you just can't touch them. I also have boosters in here, which modifies every character. A good example of a booster that I have in this game. For those of you who aren't familiar with the term booster, a booster is basically a modification of individual characters, giving them powers that basically modernize them, according to whatever's going on at the time. A good example of a booster is probably Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange has an animated cape booster. Okay, I'll move forward here. The animated cape booster basically brings his cape alive, kind of like in the MCU, how it moves on its own accord, which is something I found, which he isn't the only character that has, obviously. You can see it back there on Doctor Strange's mannequin. See his cape flapping? That's what his cape looks like in game, surprisingly enough. Oh, since I'm just going through all of the things I hate about Ultimate Alliance 3, again, I'm not gonna run out of things. Is the roster choice. That's pretty egregious. There's a lot of jobber characters in Ultimate Alliance 3. People don't want to admit it, but there's a lot of characters who are not popular. There's so many characters in that game that I'm just like, why? Why did you do that? I think Squirrel Girl is in Ultimate Alliance 3 for God's sakes. Just a lot of that stuff is just it's offensive. Again, I know this isn't a kind or a nice word for me to say, but I am not stupid enough to spend my money on a game that gives me a roster that crappy, dude. And then it locked all the other characters behind DLC. Are you insane? Are you insane? Shoot, I think part of the base roster, which pushes the roster up, I think to 50, if not 50, 40 something, is the Fantastic Four. I'm pretty sure the Fantastic Four was DLC. Heck, Blade was DLC in Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. I'm pretty sure in the first game, Blade is not DLC. You just pick them up. You literally run into Blade in Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1. It's just insane to me. I admit I'm biased. I hate DLC practices, but if you put a DLC practice in any game, especially for me, because I'm coming from, old school games that has everything in the game, because I paid money for the game. I'm not going to pay money for something and then pay more money to add more of what I should have had when I purchased it. It's insanity to me. It's just insanity to me. And I understand, like, trying to convince you guys that Ultimate Alliance 3 is a freaking dumpster fire. It's like trying to get an OCD person to make a painting cricket. Like, it's just not going to happen. I don't even know why I'm even attempting to explain this. I guess because I'm just rambling. I just want to ramble in this video while I'm showcasing this stuff. I know a popular consensus for this game too is that graphically this game doesn't look great because there's so many YouTube videos with the advanced lighting turned off, which is, I want to punch every person who does that in the face because those are people who chose to mod this game, but they didn't mod everything in the game like they're supposed to. So the advanced lighting doesn't play well with the models. It's like you have modern models and then you have crappy models in your game, so the lighting has to pick which one that it wants to light properly, which is usually either the old or the new ones. And that's why most people don't have good playthroughs of Ultimate Alliance 1 because the advanced lighting is off. It makes it look like a PS1 game because all of the shadowing is missing. It's almost the equivalent of turning off MXAO, SSD, and DO, and just turning off pretty much every shadowing filter that you can from a game, and it makes it look like crap. As you guys can see here, this game is beautiful. This game is like leaps and bounds ahead of 2 and 3 together. But yeah, that was my complete roster. This has been a 35-minute video of me just ranting. If I said something is stupid, I'm not calling you stupid specifically, I don't think. I'm just rambling off the top of my head. I don't mean any offense. I personally hate Ultimate Alliance 3 with a passion. And I guess you guys, just from seeing this build of Ultimate Alliance 1 that I've been playing personally, I think you can understand why. I don't know. I hope this video entertained you. I hope I didn't offend any of you. And have a blessed day.